Hello everyone, welcome back to our pre-review class for the corporation law. Now for this video, we will discuss the powers of the corporation. So, as by way of introduction, there are three kinds of powers now of the corporation. One is express powers, meaning it is provided for by the corporation code and other laws, and it is also provided under the Articles of Incorporation or the Charter of the Corporation. So basically, kapag sinasabing express, meaning sinulat, sinabi, nakalagay sa batas. Okay? Implied powers, those that can be inferred from or necessary for the exercise of the powers of the corporation or exercise of the express powers. Because there are actions or there are powers that are not expressly provided for by the law but may be considered as implied powers, no? Para ma-execute ng corporation properly yung kanilang express powers. Let us say, for example, itong to sue and be sued in its corporate name. This is an example of express power. Ano yung implied dito? The corporation will authorize, to authorize someone to represent the corporation in its behalf, no? Para ma-exercise itong power to sue. So, wala namang nakalagay dito na expressly provided that the corporation can authorize someone to file a case in behalf of the corporation para makasue siya, then, pero importante siya to the exercise of the express power. Therefore, implied power siya. Okay? Incidental powers, those that are incidental to the existence of the corporation. An example of this is the power to acquire properties, no? This is an incidental power, okay? To its existence, no? Meaning to say, kapag ikaw ay naging corporation, meron ka na ngayong juridical personality. Meron ka ng existence, para ka ng tao, no, na makakabili, makakabenta, etc. So, meaning, because of your existence as a corporation, you also have acquired incidental powers, no, including power to acquire properties. Now, we mentioned earlier that one of the kinds of the powers of the corporation is express powers. So, ano ba yung mga express powers under the law? So, we have under Section 35, corporate powers and capacity. Letter A, to sue and be sued in its corporate name. So, pwede silang mag-file ng case or makasuhan. To have perpetual existence, alam na natin to, unless the Certificate of Incorporation provides otherwise. To adopt and use a corporate seal. To amend its Articles of Incorporation in accordance with the provisions of this code. To adopt bylaws not contrary to law, morals, or public policy, and to amend or repeal the same in accordance with this code. In case of stock corporation, to issue or sell stocks to subscribers, and to sell treasury stocks in accordance with the provisions of this code, and to admit members to the corporation if it be a non-stock corporation. To purchase, receive, grant, or take, hold, convey, sell, lease, pledge, mortgage, and other ways deal with such real and personal property. This is incidental power din. No? At the same time, nilagay na din sa batas, so naging express na din siya. Including securities and bonds of other corporations, as a transaction of the lawful business of the corporation may reasonably and necessarily require, subject to the limitations prescribed by law and the Constitution. To enter into a partnership, joint venture, merger, consolidation, or any other commercial agreement with natural and juridical persons. Incidental din ito, no, in a sense, no? But since this is already provided for under the corporation code, then express power na siya. To make reasonable donations, including those for the public welfare or for hospital, charitable, cultural, scientific, civic, or similar purposes. provided that no foreign corporation shall give donations in aid of any political party or candidate or for purposes of partisan political activity. So bawal, no? Bawal yung mga foreign na magbigay ng donations, no, para for political purposes. To establish pension, retirement, and other plans for the benefit of its directors, trustees, officers, and employees, and to exercise such other powers as may be essential or necessary to carry out its purpose or purposes as stated in the Articles of Incorporation. So itong letter K, dito papasok yung mga implied powers, yung mga essential or necessary to carry out the express powers. Letter, okay, we also have specific powers now of the corporation. Isa-isahin natin. Etong power to declare dividends, no? This is part of the powers of the corporation. So the board of directors of a stock corporation, take note, stock corporation lang. Kasi kapag non-stock, walang dividends yan kasi non-stock. May declare dividends out of the unrestricted retained earnings, which shall be payable in cash, in property, or in stock to all stockholders on the basis of outstanding stock held by them. So any cash dividends due on delinquent stock shall first be applied to the unpaid balance on the subscription plus costs and expenses. So kapag meron delinquent ka, so kapag nag-declare nga ng dividend, i-apply mo na doon sa yung unpaid balance sa subscription. Stock dividend shall be withheld from the delinquent stockholder until his unpaid subscription is fully paid. No stock dividend shall be issued without the approval of stockholders representing not less than 2/3 of the outstanding capital stock at a regular or special meeting duly called for the purpose. So the declaration of stock dividends requires the approval of the stockholders. Kailangan may vote ng 2/3 of the outstanding capital stock. Take note of that, ha? Stock corporations are prohibited from retaining surplus profits in excess of 100% of their paid-in capital stock. Okay, let me explain this provision. No? Yung mga stock corporation daw, bawal sila mag-retain ng more than 100% of their paid-in capital. Let us say, for example, di ba we have authorized capital stock. Ito yung authorized capital stock. Ito yung number of value ng shares or number of shares that the corporation is authorized to issue or to sell. Now ngayon, out of the authorized capital stock, we have subscribed capital, meaning ilan doon sa authorized yung binili. Yun yung subscribed, di ba? Pero meron din tayong paid-in capital, which means that magkano doon sa binili ang nabayaran na. Okay, so dito tayo sa paid-in capital. Now, alam nyo na kung ano yung retained earnings, di ba? Itong surplus profits. Ito yung retained earnings sa corporation. Kailangan daw, yung retained earnings ng corporation, hindi yan sumobra ng 100% ng paid-in capital. Kunyari yung paid-in capital mo, 1 million. So, hindi dapat yung retained earnings mo sumobra ng 1 million pesos. Kasi, that is more than 100% na, di ba? So, ibig sabihin, prohibited yon, bawal yon. Anong mangyayari? Anong effect kapag ikaw ay sumobra sa 100% ng paid-in capital? Okay? Natatandaan nyo ba yung provision sa National Internal Revenue Code, yung sa taxation law, na kapag nag-exceed na yung retained earnings sa paid-in capital, masasubject yung excess sa improperly accumulated earnings tax. Remember that. That is the consequence if the stock corporation will retain surplus profits in excess of 100% of their paid-in capital. However, there are exceptions to the rule. Number one, when justified by definite corporate expansion, projects, or programs approved by the board of directors. So, kunyari, meron kayong plano na mag-expand or meron kayong mga long-term projects. So, you can set aside a portion of your retained earnings, gawin nating restricted. Huwag niyong gawing unrestricted, no? Kasi ang retaining surplus profits na babasehan natin dito is yung unrestricted. So dapat i-restrict natin yung retained earnings for corporate expansion para ma-exclude siya sa computation for improperly accumulated earnings tax. When the corporation is prohibited under any loan agreement, with financial institutions or creditors, whether local or foreign, from declaring dividends without their consent, and such consent has not been secured. So, kunyari, yung corporation meron siyang utang, and then nasa loan agreement no, ng corporation na bawal sila mag-declare ng dividend kung walang consent ng bank or financial institution or creditor. So, in that case, the corporation is justified to retain surplus profits. When it can be clearly shown that such retention is necessary under special circumstances obtaining in the corporation, such as when there is a need for special reserve for probable contingencies. Ang bigay ko example nito is like ngayong COVID pandemic, di ba? Kasi meron tayong mga contingencies na nangyayari no, for COVID. Like for payment of salaries of the employees na wala namang income yung company pero under the labor code kailangan talaga nating magbayad no kahit na hindi ganyan kalaki yung pumapasok na income. So pwede yan no kasi contingency yan no yung mga unexpected na mga events or circumstances. Okay? Now let's go to appraisal right. So ano ba itong appraisal right? No? I-discuss ko na lang dito kasali sa powers kasi this is very short, no? But before that pala, let me discuss to you ano yung mga specific powers ng corporation. Number 1 is power to extend or shorten corporate term. So pwede yun, no? Increase or decrease corporate stock, incur or create bonded indebtedness, deny preemptive right, sell, dispose, lease, encumber all, or substantially all of corporate assets, purchase or acquire own shares, invest in another corporation business other than the primary purpose. So specific powers ito. Declare dividends, enter into management contract, and amend the articles of incorporation. Ano ba ibig sabihin kung specific power siya? Kailangan siya ng two-third vote. Kailangan ito ng two-third vote ng stockholders, no? Hindi lang yung board of directors. Kaya specific power siya. General power, yung na-mention natin kanina. Ito. Okay? So meaning yung board lang ang pwedeng ma-exercise nun. Okay? Now, before tayo magpunta sa appraisal right, i-discuss ko muna itong tinatawag nating ultra vires acts. Ano ba itong ultra vires acts of the corporation? An ultra vires act is one committed outside the object for which a corporation is created, as defined by the law of its organization and therefore beyond the power conferred upon it by law. Remember that the corporation has three kinds of powers. We have express, implied, and incidental power. Kailan ba nagiging ultra vires yung act? Kapag wala doon sa tatlong nabanggit ko. Kung nag-act yung corporation beyond its express power, hindi siya pasok sa implied power, pati sa incidental power, then ang act will be considered as an ultra vires act. Okay, that ends now our discussion for the powers of the corporation. So let's proceed to appraisal right. So ano ba itong appraisal right? This is the right of a shareholder to dissent and demand payment of the fair value of his shares in the instances provided for under the corporation code. 'Di ba? Kapag merong mga major decisions yung corporation, kailangan nilang mag-call ng regular or special meeting ng mga stockholders para makuha nila yung two-third votes, right? So, kapag for example nanalo yung in favor sila sa particular action ng corporation, for example, yung action na kailangan ng two-third vote, mag-invest sila for example in another corporation, business other than the primary purpose, okay? Tapos ayaw ng isa or dalawa sa mga stockholders, nanalo naman, okay? Favorable naman doon sa proposal na mag-invest sila in another corporation. So ano yung pwede nilang gawin? Pwede nilang i-exercise yung kanilang appraisal right. Ito, no? The right of a shareholder to dissent and demand payment of the fair value of his shares in the instances provided. So meaning, ibebenta niya na ngayon yung kanyang shareholding, ibebenta niya. So ano yung mga instances, ang nakasaad dito, in the instances provided for under the code, meaning limited lang din yung instances kung kailan nila ma-exercise yung appraisal right. So ano yung mga instances? Number one, in case any amendment to the Articles of Incorporation has the effect of changing or restricting the rights of any stockholder or class of shares. Ayan. Nyari, nag-amend sila tapos maapektuhan yung kanilang shares. In case any amendment to the Articles of Incorporation has the effect of authorizing preferences in any respect superior to those of outstanding shares of any class. In case of an amendment to the Articles of Incorporation extending or shortening the term of corporate existence. So, kunyari, nag-propose yung mga board of directors na i-shorten nila yung corporate existence. So, magkukall sila ngayon ng stockholders meeting para makuha nila yung 2/3 votes. Tapos, nanalo. Pero ikaw, ayaw mo. So, dahil ayaw mo naman, so pwede mong i-exercise yung appraisal right, no? Parang ibenta mo na lang sa kanila yung shares mo. In case of lease, sale, exchange, transfer, mortgage, pledge, or other disposition of all or substantially all of the corporate property and assets as provided in the code. Okay, kung magbibenta na yung corporation ng all properties, corporate properties, nanalo, nakuha nila yung 2/3, ikaw yung nasa 1/3 na naiwan. So, pwede mong exercise yung appraisal right. In case of merger or consolidation, if the corporation will invest its funds in another corporation, ito yung example natin kanina. And take note that the grounds are exclusive. Meaning, kung hindi kasali dito sa mga instances na ito, you cannot exercise your appraisal right. How right is exercised? The dissenting stockholder who votes against the proposed corporate action may exercise the right of appraisal by making a written demand, okay, written demand on the corporation for the payment of the fair value of shares held within 30 days from the date on which the vote was taken, provided that failure to make the demand within such period shall be deemed a waiver of the appraisal right. So, meron siyang period para ma-exercise mo yung appraisal right. Take note of that. So, okay, that ends my discussion for the powers of the corporation and the appraisal right now. See you again for our next video para matapos natin at i-continue natin yung corporation law. Thank you and goodbye.